This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Like tourism, the country's aviation industry has been significantly impacted due to the current COVID-19 climate with travel restrictions. The national flag carrier has been grounded for most of the last 7 months. Aviation Minister Dionisio de Aguilar was very frank with reporters outside of Cabinet on Tuesday on the state of affairs for the airline amidst reports that Bahamas Air is struggling to meet payroll.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they have no revenue. So they're having to rely almost exclusively on the government to subsidize its weekly payments. So, you know, you can see it's not flying, or it has very little business, and there's just no way that that can support the fixed costs of that airline, which are very, very substantial.
It was back in July during a communication in the House of Assembly that Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis noted that the government considered deferring a portion of airline staff salaries. Minister de Aguilar says that every airline in the world is reeling because of the reduction in revenue.
In fact, the government has a number of agencies, and while we are focused on Bahamas Air as one, that gets its most of its revenue from user fees. So even in the aviation sector, you have NAD, you have Nassau Flight Services, you have Airport Authority, and you have Bahamas Air. And then outside of the aviation sector, you've got BPL and any other public corporations that are being significantly impacted by the fact that A, people aren't traveling, and B, they don't have any employment. So all of these agencies are impacted by the fact that travel has been significantly reduced. And the government is exploring options on when and how to restart and relaunch Bahamas Air.
Active employees from the airline can see layoffs. The minister says that's not something the government is contemplating. As the country continues its ongoing battle with the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister of Tourism Dionisio de Aguilar also shared his concern over the U.S. State Department and Center of Disease Control and Prevention's warning to visitors not to travel to the Bahamas due to COVID-19 cases with reporters.
There's no doubt whether you're looking at tourism or whether you're just a resident in the Bahamas, resident in New Providence, you're concerned about the number of cases here. So it behooves us as best as possible to try and get those numbers down. And that's why I implore, and maybe some people haven't made the connection between getting these numbers down in our economy. And that's why I implore everybody to do what they possibly can, not to contribute to community spread, to follow the guidelines, because it's critical for the survival of our tourism economy.
At the start of August, the U.S. State Department and CDC both issued a travel advisory for the Bahamas. The U.S. State Department issued a level 4 and the CDC a level 3, both warning persons not to travel to the Bahamas due to the alarming number of COVID-19 cases. Now, the minister adds this about getting the numbers down.
You would have to be living on the moon if you didn't hear all of the advice that's being given. We just need the discipline to adhere to it and to, as best as possible, not commingle, not gather in groups, and not contribute to community spread. I know it's difficult, but our economy is depending on you, every citizen, to be able to rebound and to get our share of what is definitely a reduced tourism pie.
Currently, the country has over 5,000 confirmed cases with just under 3 weeks until the Ministry of Tourism's phased reopening set for November 1st. And Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Davis sending condolences to the family of former Member of Parliament and former Cabinet Minister Darrell Roll, who died yesterday. Mr. Davis, in a statement, says he was saddened by Mr. Roll's death, describing him as a trusted and loyal Pinling PLP and an ardent supporter of the progressive movement. Mr. Roll was the youngest Cabinet Minister ever and one of the longest-serving ministers of the Pinling Cabinet, eclipsed by Sir Clement T. Maynard. Mr. Davis also notes that Mr. Roll was a good and faithful servant of the people. Mr. Roll, a native of Andros, was elected to the House of Assembly as a PLP Member of Parliament for Mangrove Key in 1971 and began serving as a cabinet minister from as early as 1974. He held several cabinet posts, including Minister of Labor, National Security, Education and Culture, Minister of Transport and Home Affairs. He served in the the House of Assembly until he retired in 1997. Mr. Davis expressed condolences on behalf of his wife, the PLP, Deputy Leader Chester Cooper, parliamentary colleagues, stalwart councilors, officers, and members of the Progressive Liberal Party. Mr. Roll was 77.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.